So maybe all this time, the U.S. Postal Service has had it all wrong. It's not about the letters, it's about the loans. Banking's the future, my man. Stuffing mailboxes is not. So talk now. The post office wants in on providing financial services to the poor. Savings accounts, small-scale loans, you name it. The Inspector General convinced there's money in it. And since banks are ignoring poorer Americans, a huge potential market for it, too. The Cato Institute's Dan Mitchell says return this idea to sender fast because we're all going to lose money on this even faster. Dan, why so negative?
Well, first, there is a genuine need to help low-income people get banking services. But the problem isn't that we need to get the post office involved. The problem is we have so many regulations, especially the so-called money laundering laws, that make it prohibitively expensive for banks to offer banking services to low-income people. So, yes, there's a problem to be fixed. But the idea of giving the Postal Service, one of the most inefficient bureaucracies, perhaps exceeded only by DMVs, the idea of getting them into banking? No. If anything, we should be shrinking the Postal Service, privatizing it like a lot of other countries, not giving them these big new powers.
You know, here's why I'll slightly disagree with you, because I always think the post office gets a bad rap. And not only because I like my local postal guys, but I also think they're obliged by federal law to deliver mail everywhere. You know, in the outskirts of Juneau, you name it, they have to be there. Private entities do not. So I wonder if we were giving them less in terms of bounds, that they didn't have to hold to this, that they might be able to make more money. Having said that, what is wrong with them trying to tap a market that might make them some money in the process?
If they're tapping into a market, but in effect using government-provided benefits that private companies don't have, such as real estate all over the country, then in effect you're distorting competition in private markets. It's one of the reasons why we don't want to let the Postal Service take advantage of its distribution networks to engage in unfair competition against UPS and FedEx. And by the way, speaking of UPS and FedEx, we see that those companies manage to deliver all across the country and worldwide without huge differences in pricing. So the idea that we need the Postal Service so that we can subsidize mail to Alaska at the expense of, say, city dwellers, I think if we allowed the private market to work and had genuine competition, in effect freed the Postal Service from all the restrictions put on them by the politicians in Washington, we would get better service for customers. We then could allow the Postal Service, without the benefit of any government-created distortions, to perhaps then compete in other areas in the same way.
No, that's actually, I didn't do that. That's a very good point. They certainly have the network of offices. I always think it would be weird to say, I'll take a pack of stamps and a $5,000 loan. I mean, that would be a little weird when you go up to the desk. But having said that, there's got to be something they can do with their branch structure. I don't know whether it's serve coffee, I don't know whether it's donuts, but they've got a very good inherent base of shops, if you think about it, and obviously sending snail mail back and forth ain't cutting it.
Well, you're exactly right. I'm willing to let them get into those different markets, assuming that they're willing to get their snouts out of the trough. Yeah, I mean, you said you like your local mail deliverer. Yeah, most people at the Postal Service, I'm sure, are good people, and I imagine in a genuine private sector environment, the postal management could wind up being efficient and experimenting with new things. In the same way we see Walmart and Target interested in engaging in banking service, the Postal Service could do it too. But don't mix government and business together. I mean, all the bad news we see about Obamacare is all the evidence we should ever need that we don't want to expand government intervention in other areas of our economy.
All right. See what happens to your mail today, Dan. Always good seeing you, my friend. Dan Mitchell.
Thank you.
The Cato economist extraordinaire.